Alright, now we're going to talk about cardinal headings and reading the winds aloft. This will help us determine the wind direction for planning our landing pattern and also determining the exit point from the airplane. Alright, now I'm going to explain the cardinal headings. What we're looking at is each cardinal heading, north, south, east, and west, corresponds with a compass degree. So if we look at north, north corresponds with 0, which is equivalent to 360. So as we go around the compass in a clockwise manner, we come to the east direction. That represents 90 degrees. Down to the south, we have 180 degrees. And then to the west, 270 degrees, all the way back around to the 360 degree mark. One additional thing to explain about the cardinal headings is that on an airport runway, we will see numbers on each end of the runway. So this number, and it's upside down, reads 18. Another thing to notice is that this only says 18 on all runway markings as far as the runway goes. Any number you see on the end of the runway, you always add a 0 to it. So if it says 18, you go ahead and add a 0 to indicate 180 degrees. What this tells us is what direction we are pointing at. So if we think about this airplane here that's coming into land, as it's coming into land, the first number that it's going to see on the runway is this 18. Now, the reason the 18's on this side of the runway is because the pilot, when he's coming into land, cannot see the number at the other end of the runway. So what we think about with our cardinal headings is that when an airplane is coming into land, the number that they see on the runway points to that direction. So if we think about the runway being a giant arrow, it's pointing to what direction is 180. So here's the 180 that we see at the end of the runway. And we know that because we see 180, the first thing we see is the 180 on this side of the runway. That points to what direction south will be, which again is equivalent to the 180. So on the opposite side, if you look at the other end of the runway, we see a 360. So a pilot coming into land from this direction will see 360 first, and they will know that the runway then is pointing to north. Back up to here, 360 north. All right, when you come out to the drop zone on the weekends, you will see a board where we have posted the winds aloft for the day. And so the winds aloft give us an idea of what direction the winds are coming out of at the different altitudes. And these are altitudes above sea level. So if you look at the board here, this 10 represents at the ground level of where we're at right now. So at the ground, the winds are, and I always add coming out of because it gets confusing. So coming out of 150 degree marker, 150 degrees, the winds are blowing at 10 knots. Here at 3,000 feet above sea level, the winds are coming out of 190 degrees at 15 knots, and so on out of 220 degrees at 22 knots, and that's at 6,000 feet. Another symbol that you might see on the winds aloft board is this. What this means is that winds are so light and variable that the winds are considered to be insignificant. Nothing to worry about. So we kind of go from the winds coming a little bit out of the southeast to winds coming more out of the south to winds coming out of the southwest, and then at 9,000 feet the winds aren't doing enough to really even consider. So now we're going to take the winds aloft that we looked at on the board and we're going to map them out and apply them to our aerial view along with the degrees of the wind direction that they are coming out of. So again, remember, anytime you read wind direction, it's what direction the winds are coming out of. So on the ground, the winds are coming out of 150 at 10 knots. So we're going to go ahead and draw a line to show out of 150. So on the ground, 150 is going to be somewhere between the 90 degree mark and the 180 degree mark, and it's a little bit past halfway. So winds are going to be coming out of, so somewhere between here and here. We're going to kind of guess winds are coming out of this direction, out of, and we're going to go ahead and put out of 150 degrees at 10 knots. And now what we notice from the winds aloft board is that at 3,000 feet, the winds are a little bit different. At 3,000 feet, the winds are coming out of 190 degrees at 15 knots. So if we know south is 180 degrees, 190 degrees is going to be just past the 180 degree mark. So now at 3,000 feet, winds are coming out of this direction. So 3,000 feet, winds are out of 190 degrees at 15 knots. So we can see from this board that the winds have shifted a little bit. On the ground, the winds are coming out of the southeast, and at 3,000 feet, winds are coming out of the southwest. And then again, at 6,000 feet, winds are coming out of 220 at 22 knots. So 220 again is going to be somewhere between the 180 and 270. And if here's 190, that's going to be about 210, 200, 210. Here's probably about 220 in here. So winds are coming out of 220 at 22 knots. So this is how we use the cardinal headings in reference to the degrees, 360, 90 degrees, 180, 270, to plot out the winds aloft.